Hey, high school tech. Welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to talk about timers. So we've been talking about HUD and how to change an object references HUD or a player's HUD. And so now we're going to shift into this sort of changing time-based changes. So if we want an effect to last for a certain amount of time, we can use a timer. We're also going to get into, and I thought I would choose some other effect to show you, to demonstrate. And so some of y'all had talked about changing the wheeled item. And so that I'm going to demonstrate that as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So get your thinking caps on and let's get started. Now, this is where we left off last class, and I had, wait, there I am. So we had all of this stuff in our on punch node, and this was messing with the HUD. Very useful, very interesting stuff. And some of y'all might want to keep some of this, but the direction that I'm going, this code is probably going to be in the way a little bit. And so how do I get rid of it but also keep it at the same time? There's a way to do that, and that is using block commenting. So block commenting, oh, well, before I do that, what we should have done here is we should have taken all this code and stuffed it inside of a function. In that case, all we'd have to do is comment out the function reference, and it would skip all of this code. But instead, the way we have it set up right now is much more difficult to comment out. But it's fine. The other thing that would benefit if we used a function is that it would make our code much more concise looking. And so our function would live in another area of our script and wouldn't clutter up this area. So, but for time's sake and simplicity, this is the way it is. So how do we do block commenting? Well, the way we do that is with, just like you would a regular comment, use a double hyphen. Now, but you also have to include two square brackets. Square brackets are right below the backspace key, roughly. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the close brackets, and you'll see that everything gets commented that follows it. And then I'm going to paste the square brackets down here and include those two hyphens, and that ends that comment region. And I could just, it's offering to add this little tag on the end. That's great. Now, be sure to comment out the right section. This is going to trip you up, I'm sure. Make sure you don't comment out this end. That end belongs to the onPunch callback function, okay? If you comment that out, then you're going to have trouble. So if you're having problems, now would be a fine time to run the code and just because it's not going to do anything, just to make sure there's no errors. Also look for red, right? So that should also help you. All right, so I'm commenting all of that because I'm wanting to take this a little bit of a different path here. I want to introduce you to timers and how to use timers. Now, there are a couple ways of doing this. One of the ways is using the node timers. And so you can set up node timers and then there's a callback called onTimer. But we won't get into that right now. That might be useful some other time. What I want to use is something called Minetest.after. Whether or not this is the best use or method to accomplish the effect that we desire, I don't know. But we're going to use this. We're going to take this route. Now, what I'm going to do, let me take you to the Lua API, and I am in, so that you can navigate to it, the Minetest namespace reference. That's the third from the bottom. That's gonna hold all of the methods that are included in Minetest. I'm gonna do a Control F or find, and I'm looking for Minetest.after after, and it pulls up this method here. Now, of course, it gives you some information. Returns job table to use as below. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but here's a little explanation. The function func after time seconds may be fractional, so time could be a fraction of a second. Now, function, that's going to be a function that you define. Lastly, optional. variable number of arguments that are passed to function. Okay, so you know how functions sometimes have like variables that they use inside of the function and you pass them in through the parentheses. Hopefully you're tracking here. Those need to be tagged onto the end, and I will demonstrate that in just a second. What we're going to do here is we are going to copy this, or you can type it out. That's fine either way. I'm going to say Control-C, head over to VS Code, and paste it right in here. Now, before I can actually use this code, if you think about this, this is an effect that takes place after a certain amount of time. So you can this can have various uses. For instance, let's say maybe you hit the block and then after 10 seconds you want an effect to happen. Great, this is fine. You can start writing out the code. But in my case, what I want is an effect to happen as soon as you punch the node, and then after a certain amount of time, it is removed. And in that case, we need to define something before this implementation or this function minetest.after, right? Because hopefully this makes sense. Now, I'd like to change up. I'd like to apply an effect to the player. So what effect can we mess around with? And some of y'all had talked about the wheeled messing with the wheeled item, and we can easily do that by scrolling to the bottom of the Lua API and clicking on class reference, scrolling down to object reference, and just hit up that main section. Scroll down a little bit and you can see here we have get wheeled item and set wheeled item. It gives us short little description of each. So what we're going to do is first thing, well, let me demonstrate the set wheeled item. What we're going to need is the object reference, which in my case is called puncher, set underscore wheeled item. Now it is looking for a text, a string, or the name of the item that you want to put in their hand. You can put anything in that person's hand, but in my case, I think it'd be funny to set it to default pick underscore wood. And it actually it does prevent them from mining a certain ores or certain materials that are in certain groups, which mine is not. So that's how you actually assign an item into their hand. Now remember, in my case, I want to return the item that was swapped out with, right? So they're holding a diamond pickaxe, swinging away, and they hit it, and then bam, it turns into a wood pickaxe. It's funny, but we want to give the diamond pickaxe back, right? So we need to first record what they had in hand, because let's say it's not a diamond pickaxe. Let's say it's a piece of dirt. We want to return that to their hand. So we need to actually capture the previous or the original item that was in their hand. So I'm going to create a local variable here, and then I'm going to say wielded first equals puncher get underscore wielded item. And that's all you have to do. What it does is it returns what's called an item stack, and an item stack is an item and the quantity of the item. There's probably some more information in that object, but for now that's all we need to know. So here we've captured the item that they had in their hand, and then row 115, we have set it to a wood pickaxe. Now what we need to do is define our after function. Remember, this is our timer. This is how we make a change after a certain amount of time. And while we're on that topic, the first thing that we can affect change is the time that it takes. In my case, I'm going to set it to 5 seconds. Don't do anything too extreme at first, because you want to see if your function even works. If you set it to 30, it's going to take you 30 seconds before you're able to see if your function even works. So later on, you can set it to 60 seconds and something really annoying. But for now, just set it to something small so that you can visualize the changes. Now, we're going to go in here and fill out function. And what I did there was I started typing func, and it gave me the option to autofill. I did that, took the option, and there we have it. We have the end included. So if you're typing it out manually, don't forget that end. You need that end. You're going to see red everywhere. So for function, I'm going to need two pieces of information, which I'm going to define for myself, user and item. And these are just generic names that I came up with. You can come up with names of your own. And then in here are is what the after function, that being this function, what it's going to take and pass into these. So let's say I wrote a 5 right here. 5 user would become 5, and I could reference user inside my function. That's not what I want, right? So what I want is I want user to actually be puncher, because that's an object reference, and I can change the wielded item of object reference. Okay, hopefully this will make sense in just a second. And then comma, you can add as many of these as you want, depending on how many you have in your function. The next thing I need is the original wielded item, and in my case, this is I predefined as wielded first. Okay, so that's the item stack. All right, so now both of these have meaning and significance inside of my function. Well, not yet. At least they have a value, and now I can reference them and use them. And what I'm going to say is user colon set underscore. And remember, this occurs after a certain amount of time. So if I say user colon set wielded item, and then item, oh, it doesn't like that. Okay, so it had backup item. Great. So now with that, we have a user, an object reference, and we're going to set the wielded item. The item, if you don't recall, is going to be this. The item that we're setting it to is going to be this, which was defined here, right? That was the first thing that they had in their hand. All right, so if we save this, we can go over to Minetest and see what I did wrong, right? That's what you always want to expect, and sure enough, I did something wrong. So let's see. If we look at this, line 118, let's do a little quick debugging. I added an extra parentheses. That was the weird thing that was going on. If I save that, now I can try this again, see if anything happens, if anything goes wrong. Okay, so I hit this, and sure enough, my diamond pickaxe turned into a wooden pickaxe. Now after 5 seconds, it gives me it back. So I can hit it again, and whoop, turn into a wooden pickaxe. So that's kind of cool. Now here's a problem. Okay, so if I hit it and then I hit it again, what I did there was, first of all, diamond pickaxe. It recorded that. Now you see that it gave me my diamond pickaxe back, but then it activated the function again. But the second time I hit it with a wood pickaxe. And so it gave me a wood pickaxe back after 5 seconds. So now I'm stuck with a wood pickaxe. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but if it does, that is the problem. And maybe you can try something to try to fix that so that it actually gives me my diamond pickaxe back. You know, maybe some condition where it only activates Minetest.after a certain amount of time. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that is certainly a problem, and which needs to be resolved if you want to take this route. So thanks, guys. I am way out of time, but I thought that was kind of fun and interesting. Hopefully you can use those different concepts in whatever way you want to for your Ancestry Stone. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time.